A Suitable Boy. But which one am I talking about? The book by Vikram Seth, the limited series directed by Mira Nair, which is on Netflix, my mother's top priority, or maybe all three. Now, the book has been around since 1993, and the show has been on Netflix since October 2020, so I am not making any apologies about spoilers in this episode. If you haven't watched the show or read the book and you really want to, I'll do my best not to reveal the major plot twists, but the book and the show will not be brand new to you after you've heard this episode. You have been warned. Another warning is that there is some mention about certain sensitive subjects, so don't listen to this if you're around kids who are under 13. So, what's the story? To me, there are two major plot lines and a whole slew of peripheral characters and subplots and all that, which we won't get into because the book is 1,500 pages long, and I don't want this episode to be 1,500 minutes long. The book is called A Suitable Boy because essentially the main plot line follows this college girl, Lata, who personally I find to be very boring, and her slightly annoying mother in their quest to find this boring Lata a suitable husband. Okay. And there are three major players in this game who are competing for Suitable Boy. Number one is Kabir, who is really hot and plays cricket, and basically he's this jock. And unfortunately, he's Muslim, so obviously, this is now a love jihad plot. For legal reasons, that is joke. There is no mention of love jihad in the story, in the book, or in the TV show. The second guy is Amit, who is this lawyer turned poet, and he's all obsessed with writing and all that. But he's also Lata's brother's wife's brother. So to me, that marriage would be a little weird. The third guy is Harish the hardworking, who comes across to me as a bit of a high strung wannabe, but some say he's just very honest. I don't know, to each their own. I shall now be very well behaved and not tell you who ends up being the suitable boy. The second major plot line is one big, confusing web of forbidden love. Okay, so these are the characters involved. Now there's Mahesh Kapoor, who's the revenue minister. He has one party boy son called Man. Mahesh Kapoor has one best pal called the Nawab Sahib. Okay, Nawab Sahib has two sons who are twins, Firoz and Imtiaz. This Imtiaz mostly minds his own business, but Firoz and Man are BFFs. Then there is Saida Bai, who is a courtesan who sings at all these elite events, and she's also like a high class sex worker for the elite. Saida Bai also has a much younger sister named Tasneem, who's just really beautiful and doesn't do that much other than being very beautiful. Now for the forbidden love. Man, who is revenue minister's son, and the party boy, loves Saida Bai. Saida Bai also is fond of this man and enjoys his attention. So it's consensual, but it's also dangerous given their differences in age and in status. Because, Man is son of the minister and she's a courtesan and all that. Then there's Firoz, who has a big time crush on Tasneem, but that's a very small side thing. I also feel like Man and Firoz have some sexual tension going on, but I don't know if that's just me. There's also lots of drama in this circle involving an illegitimate child, possible unintentional incest, and lots of heartbreak. It's so hard not to talk about the major plot twist, but I don't want to ruin everything. So that's the high level overview. Now we'll talk about the book and then about the Netflix show. The book is, as I mentioned, 1,535 pages long. I mean, the edition that I read was that long. But it's also really immersive. So you just kind of lose yourself in that universe, and it doesn't feel like it's going on and on and on and on. I have heard that some people have had trouble finishing the book, but honestly, I have read some very, very long books and haven't finished them, but this one was not difficult to finish. Also, the chapters are really short, and so it's easy to stop and start like whenever you need to. You're always about 1 or 2 pages away from a chapter ending. Now, given how long the book is, it obviously covers the two major plot lines in a lot of detail. But in terms of the side plots, also, there's a whole buffet of things going on. The story is set 5 years after independence, And so there's a lot of like post partition politics going on. There's one election that happens, and that storyline covers caste politics and religion and the abolition of the zamindari system. There's a whole bunch of important issues which are really still relevant today, also. In some places, the politics chapters were a little boring for me, but I mean, I definitely learned a lot. I can't deny that. On the family relationship side, there's a ton of these small masaledar things which are happening with in-laws and affairs and siblings and local gossip and parties. And I really feel like every type of human being that you've ever met is represented in this book. Like the wannabe who only talks about foreign politics and looks down on India, the annoying chatty sister of the annoying girl who flirts with everyone, the pseudo spiritually awakened guy who only wants to talk about that cult that he's just joined. There's the judgmental auntie, the religious but really sweet auntie, the old auntie who only complains about how sad her life is, the bad influence best friend who's actually a good influence. I mean, it has social justice warriors and child prodigies and musicians and shoemakers and child molesters and college professors. Even Jawaharlal Nehru makes an appearance, okay? So, literally, everyone is in this book. It's such a vast collection of characters. And the best part is that despite there being so many characters, you don't lose track of who is whom because it's written so well. And the author gives you like the family trees to refer to if you need. And the other thing I really like is that these characters are not just one dimensional, because sometimes when there are lots of characters, each character doesn't get a lot of personality. But here, each side character also has their own character arc and their own hopes and dreams. And it's so beautiful and well rounded. It could have been the perfect TV show, right? Wrong. That limited series on Netflix was one big fat flop. I mean, don't get me wrong, it had a lot of big names, it had a massive budget, great viewership. I think it was a flop in the sense that I hated it, and so did a lot of people in the industry. As an actor, it was almost painful to watch, especially knowing that the legendary Mira Nair directed it, man. Oh, the only thing it got right was making it into a limited series instead of a movie. But frankly, it could have had a lot more episodes. They covered all the major highlights of the book, but it just didn't work, because there was so much context that was missing in the show. See, this always happens when books are adapted for screen, okay? We lose a lot of details. But this time I felt like the show just lost the soul of the book. I mean, that book is so beautifully rooted in like human behavior and human relationships and family and love and revenge and jealousy and all of those human emotions. The show feels like it's just a series of events that are just told, kind of almost heartlessly, like one news broadcast that's just presenting incidents one after the other. The beauty of the book is that it looks deeper into why those things happened. Why did that event take place? What was the feeling, the historical context, the political context, the personalities involved? How did all of that come together? That's the beauty of the book, which is just not there in the show at all. And don't even get me started on the acting and the dialogue delivery. Oh my god. I mean, there are some pretty experienced actors who have a theater background who are still pretty good. Ishan Katar as Man and Tabu as Saida Bai were fantastic. But this Lata and her mom just ruined the show for me completely. And because I saw the TV show first and then read the book, I feel like this TV portrayal of Lata just stuck in my head. And even when I was reading the book, I couldn't get myself to like Lata. In the show, their dialogue delivery was like one fourth standard children doing some skit for one annual day. It was so bad. I mean, I know people who didn't even get through the first episode because the dialogue delivery was that bad. Look, I get it, okay? It was sort of older British English and all that. But I've also seen Shakespeare performed in like a very natural, relatable way, so that was not an excuse. The casting was good in that all the characters looked the part, but the acting was just such a deal breaker. Right now, I would give the show a 2 out of 5, but with the right actors, it could have been a 4 out of 5 or a 4.5 out of 5, honestly, despite the writing being rushed. But I mean, watching the show wasn't a complete waste of time for me because I discovered the book only because of the Netflix show. I mean, I knew the book existed, but I wanted to read the book because the show was so bad and I just needed to overwrite the memory. And the book is now one of my favorites because being single at 30 in India is kind of like being single and 20 in 1950 India, right? And finding a suitable boy is like everyone's top priority, especially my mother's. And like so many of those conversations that happen in the book have definitely happened in my house also. And in the end, I would say Lata did choose the most suitable boy. But the fact that while reading the book, I loved both the unsuitable boys, and it just made me realize what I was doing wrong in my own dating life. I mean, I always go for excitement over stability. I deliberately choose drama over simplicity. Like, toxic men are just my biggest weakness. Whereas Lata actually chose the most sensible of the three candidates. Like, I've gotten better over time, but I would not have made the decision that Lata made. For some reason, I prefer dating people who don't give me what I want or what I need. Like, if someone is too reliable and sweet and caring, I find it very off putting and kind of boring. I'm working on it. I'm working on choosing better partners. But thanks to Vikram Seth, I'll now have some reference points at least. I'll be able to say, oh, that's such an Amit, or that guy's such a Kabir or a Harish. And like, hopefully, I'll be able to make a better decision accordingly. So thanks, Vikram Seth. You probably made my life and my mother's life a bit easier. The other thing that I got from this book is that it has made me a little bit more open to the idea of arranged marriage. I never thought I'll say this. But I really think the system works for a reason. Like, not always, but often enough. I have friends and family who found wonderful partners through arranged marriage. I mean, also, let's face it, right? Marriage is not about two people, it's about two families, two lifestyles, two outlooks on life, all of those things coming together. So, going through the arranged marriage system means that the shortlisted boys come through known people or are selected within a socio-economic class. Like, it sounds really shallow, and this might be a very controversial opinion, but I've dated very far outside my socio-economic class, and eventually the lifestyle differences always got in the way. There's just no denying it. There are people who make it work, but I mean, isn't it just easier to not have to deal with that? You can expect similar levels of education, similar incomes, similar lifestyles. Like if you grew up going on international holidays and studying at Harvard and speaking English at home, someone from a small town is not going to be able to adjust to your life very easily, and vice versa. So it just makes things a little bit more difficult. See, there are definitely people who take the checklist too far and refuse to make exceptions. And I'm not advocating for some dogmatic system that's focused only on caste and religion and all that. I'm just saying that searching within a known network can be a good place to start. Ugh. Me 5 years ago would have rolled her eyes at this, but here I am. I mean, I tried dating my own way and clearly it didn't work, so maybe I should be looking into this option or just embracing my singleness. I mean, or doing both, right? One after the other. Embracing my singleness now and then being open to arranged marriage later. I mean, 35 is the new 25, right? I mean, at 30, though, I have statistically already avoided my first divorce. So, on some counts, I'm winning, right? Right? I hope so. So, if you're like me and for now you just want to skip the drama in your own life, but you want to read about it in someone else's life, I highly recommend reading A Suitable Boy and then watch the limited series so that we can hate it together. Okay, no, actually watch it for Ishan and Tabu and for the costumes, which are all really beautiful. And then we can hate on the rest of the show together. But definitely read the book. It's really long, but it's such a great escape during the pandemic. And it's easy to read, and you can just spend like a month or 2 months just buried in that universe. And it's so nice. You don't have to deal with reality. And then hopefully someday I'll write my own adaptation of the book, like with a Sex and the City spin to it and sell it to Dharma Productions for one big fat paycheck. And we can get Alia Bhatt to play Lata and Varun Dhawan to play Man and Lara Datta to play Saida Bai and just make one nice Bollywood version of the show. please tweet at Karan Johar using the hashtag a suitable script to support my idea. I mean, okay, Karan Johar has actually called his autobiography The Unsuitable Boy, so maybe he might be actually open to this idea. Maybe that's the book I should read after this, his autobiography. Okay, time to wrap up before I get in too deep with this idea. I have lots more books and TV shows and movies that I want to talk to you about, so there will be lots more episodes like this. You can always DM me on Instagram at Take It Easy Policy if you want to talk about the book or the show, or if you have any recommendations for me. As always, music and mastering was by Semitonic Productions. Until next time, over and out.